august members of the House, co-presenters and co-chairs, the key affected populations in the audience, good day. We are all, yeah, excellent, thank you. Thank you. We are all aware that HIV epidemic in Asia and the Pacific is among the MSM and transgender people. We are also aware that the most affected key population in this epidemic are the young people, especially the young MSM. In addition, we are aware that if the status of investment to HIV programs and interventions remains as usual, almost 50% of the new HIV infection by the year 2020 is among the MSM. Do you agree that we are aware of this data? Do you agree that we are aware of this data? Come on, I have only 10 minutes. Yes, we are aware, of course, we are aware because we have read them. Or some of us in this auditorium are the ones who created this data and presented this data in the region. There are a number of available strategic information in the region, the evidence and data that proves that we don't do something, worse things will happen. Whether you notice or not, these data strengthen our advocacy in the region, even in the international arena. But do the communities or local organizations in the countries in Asia and the Pacific know about these data? Or even if they do know about this data, do they understand what this data say? English is not mainly used in most countries in Asia and the Pacific, particularly most in Asia. As a consequence, these useful data are not used by the community in their advocacy for an increased quantity and quality of HIV programs. There is a gap observed between significant regional information on the one hand and the community advocacy for our HIV efforts on the other. The strategic information evidence available in the region at most time remains in the region. That means they do not go down to the grassroots level. At the same time, the community, local organizations, advocates do not reach out to acquire these data because they are in English. There is a stream flowing between the available strategic information and evidence available in the region and the community advocacy and HIV response. This stream, in the form of language barrier, restricts them to learn more and gain more knowledge in the advocacy. Now, how do we bridge this gap? We bridge them through a rainbow. Or, what is this rainbow? This rainbow is the translated strategic information. Asia-Pacific Coalition on Male Sexual Health, or APCOM, and in partnership with the Australian Federation of AIDS Organizations, or AFAO, implemented a project titled MSM and Transgender Network Capacity Strengthening Initiative under the Regional HIV Capacity Building Program, which is funded by the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. The MSM and Transgender Networks Capacity Strengthening Initiative aims to capacitate the regional, sub-regional, and country networks and partners and their respective networks and partners in the response to HIV. This is an 18-month project which includes several components. One of them is a translation and dissemination component. The APCOM operates in Asia and the Pacific region. We work to advocate for sexual health service for our communities. We advocate for an enabling environment for sexual health and support services. We gather, we generate, and share strategic information and make them available to the rest of the region. And we build a cadre of advocates, or we build a group of leaders, particularly young people. Now, what we thought to fill the gap, we thought of translating and disseminating the available strategic information in the region to strengthen the advocacy community organizations in the Asia and the Pacific. Second, to effectively disseminate information in a language understood and in a medium accessible. And third, to accumulate good practices in effective dissemination. This 18-month activity covered the sub-regions of Greater Mekong, the ASEAN, and the Pacific. For each sub-region, we have partners. For the Greater Mekong, we have the Purple Sky Network, or the PSN. For the ASEAN sub-region, we have the islands of the Insular of Southeast Asian Networks for MSM and Transgender Sexual Health, or ASEAN. And the Pacific, we have the Pacific Sexual Diversity Network. For each of our partners, we ask them, or we have agreed on a partnership that each of them will translate policy briefs or APCOM policy briefs into specific languages. For the Purple Sky Network, they will translate these policy briefs into Burmese, Chinese, Khmer, Lao, Thai, and Vietnamese. For the Aishan, they are translating it into Bahasa, Cebuano, and Tetum. And for the Pacific, the French and the Pidgin. The documents translated are the APCOM policy briefs, which states addressing the needs of young MSM who have young men who have sex with men, the legal environments in the Asia and the Pacific, particularly in South Asia, East Asia, and the Pacific, men who have sex with men and transgender population, the Multi-City Initiative report, the country snapshots, and in focus. We also developed the dissemination plan template, or we call it the Dplay, which is a tool providing assistance to the regional, sub-regional, and country networks for what? To inform. In what manner? Informing in a strategic and an effective manner. To whom? To the community partners and stakeholders. What will they inform? Available strategic information or evidence in the region. For what purpose? To strengthen their advocacy skills. Now, what have we learned in this activity? First of all, there are technical aspects and the program aspects, and I will tackle on the technical aspects first. Back translation is necessary to ensure that the message in the document translated is consistent despite the translation. Second, validation of the content, no matter at what stage the translation is vital. It is observed that some advocacy jargons in the region and in the international arena are not used in other countries or in other communities. Details on these observations is available if you wish to ask me after the presentation. The translation process from the agreement between partners to the printing of the actual document is a long process. Ensuring that the data is still relevant is very important. The community, in order to disseminate the documents effectively, must own these documents or must own these products. The sense of ownership provides an aura of pride, thereby giving them confidence in the advocacy efforts. To obtain this ownership, the community must be involved in data gathering. Therefore, dynamic partnerships must be in place. Delivering of this regional strategic information must be prioritized. I dare say delivering and not providing, because we at the region who are working for the key affected populations has an extraordinary responsibility to ensure that our community partners and networks are updated on current evidence and data. Strong linkages and partnerships between the community and the government is also essential, that needs strengthening and ongoing attention. If the community knows better, as a conclusion, they can advocate better. They are more confident in their advocacy, and the knowledge further enhances their craft. There is an increase in advocacy effort in the communities. The translated documents are evidence-based reference, which help them in designing proposals and engaging in national dialogues, especially now that the Global Fund has started rolling the new funding model, where a very large community dialogue is expected. The regional strategic information increase the credibility of the country MSM issues. Translation is a highly efficacious means of imparting knowledge, aiming to strengthen and capacitating the community. Capacity building component of a program has different phases. Capacity building does not only require workshop, trainings, or providing some tools or manuals. They also represent some imparting of knowledge, like the translations or the dissemination or effective dissemination of instruments. Investing to capacitate the key affected populations is very vital to foster leadership and capacitate existing community leaders. The key population are the key drivers of the HIV response. Every effort counts. Everything for them should be with them so that no one gets left behind. At this point, I would like to thank the co-authors and the co-implementers of the project, Midnight Winkasetwatana, the Executive Director of APCOM, Chris Connolly of AFAO, our partners, the Purple Sky Network, Aishan, PSDN, MMN, or the Myanmar MSM Network, Myanmar Youth Stars, or the MYS, who are our partners in Myanmar, the Viet Community Development Ltd, or the VCDL, who are our partners in Vietnam, who help us disseminate and translate these documents. Have a good day.